Here's what's going to go down. I'm making an executive decision. We're going to attempt to connect with Lewis and have a brief conversation, but there's so much that I feel he can impart to our audience that we're probably going to end up rescheduling so that he can come back. We can be better prepared. Oh, I like this view. That's a nice view. I look slimmer. Yeah, so we're gonna probably reschedule him, but we want to at least have him come on, even if it's just audio, so that you can at least get a snippet and experience a little bit of this Italian energy. I said to T that it is the Italian heat that is bringing Murphy to these airwaves, because the last time this happened, it was an Italiano that made it happen. So it's too much heat. Y'all got too much heat.
Hello.
Louis!
I don't believe this.
You have too much heat for these airwaves, honey.
And now it's only reading my outside camera. Can you see me?
Not yet, sweetie. We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Because now my image is on. Turn on. I don't know what's going on. My image is on screen.
You have too much Italian heat. The spicy.
Okay, so you know what? I heard what you said. Let's just do it, and I definitely want to reschedule.
Yes, we're going to. And you know what? I have an open time slot. We're going to do this right now, live, because I want to make sure that you come back and we can have our full conversation. But we can chit chat a little bit now. But I believe it's September the 10th. Let me double check. We're going to do this live, honey, because I want everyone to hear from you. You are such an inspiration and a light for me. Yes, it is September the 10th, Saturday. You don't have to answer now, but that's an open slot that you could fill and we can have you come back. Okay, honey? So how are you today? Let's get to this nitty gritty. How are you, love?
I'm great. I'm great.
Boy, I tell you, life can roll some punches. There's some teaching moments just in this experience, right, Louis?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so let me welcome you first and foremost to CLB Live. Welcome to my wacky, crazy world. For those of you that have just tuned in or have been hanging in there with us, this is none other than my beautiful, beloved, new divine connection, Louis de Bianco. He's a very talented and gifted silver screen actor and boob tube actor. He is also a very passionate educator and a global internet entrepreneur. And his motto is change your story, change your life. Right, Louis? So
that's right.
Yes. I can hear and feel your energy just through your voice. That's one of the things I love about you. So let's dive just a little bit in the moments that we do have together this morning about you and where you're coming from. You have such a rich background. Where do we begin?
It's up to you, darling. You give me the lead.
Okay, love. Well, let's talk about your roots. Let's talk about where you're from and how did you get into this field of acting and communication?
Okay. I'm from... Now, is my sound echoing?
Not on this end. You're perfectly
okay,
clear.
Good.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm from the Bronx, and where I grew up, it was a very colorful neighborhood, and that's to say the least.
I love the word colorful. Okay.
There were a lot of gangs in my neighborhood. And when I was growing up, I looked like a tough guy, but I really wasn't. I mean, I was more a person who liked to live in his imagination. So when I used to walk those streets and go to school, I had to navigate through the territory that was kind of dominated by the gangs. And what I discovered pretty quickly was that I was able to charm those guys by entertaining them with stories. And when I would talk to them, I was able to talk their language, sound like one of them, but I was also able to give them stuff from books that they had no knowledge about. And they were really attracted to that. So they kind of accepted me, and I started feeling safe. And the more that I found that was working, the more I realized, hey, there is power in my imagination.
Yes, yes.
So then when I went to school, I fell in love with literature again, which was all about the imagination. And stories were always more vivid to me. Fictional stories were always more vivid to me than everyday mundane life. You know? So that quality in me just began to develop more and more, and it started to give me a persona where I was able to travel in just about any world I wanted to, but not really be that person in that world. I could just kind of touch down there, you know, almost like an alien coming in from a spaceship and adopting a new.
I love it.
Am I making any sense?
You're making perfect sense. So here's what I'm pulling from what you're sharing. So you found your power in your imagination, basically, and in this fictitious world where you could pretty much be whomever you wanted to be. And that is a part of us, I believe, that, as I'm sure you're going to bring out, is rarely tapped into, especially as we grow into adulthood, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this acting career. I am very impressed with you, young man. You are a brilliant actor, very powerful in your roles. How did you break into this world of acting? I'm sure your interest in literature and fictional stories brought you to this world. So how did you break into the industry?
Yeah, I'm going to try to give you the Reader's Digest version here.
Yes.
You know, when I got out of high school, I was very restless, so I didn't want to go to university. So I began taking all sorts of jobs. First one was door-to-door selling in Brooklyn, selling magazines. And of course, that was quite a trip because, you know, again, it's all about being able to tell the story. And I had fun with it, but I also got restless with it, and I went on one job to another, and eventually realized I don't like any of these jobs. So I went back to school, but I didn't know what I wanted to study. So I began studying, of all things, accounting. Can you imagine?
Ooh, sounds like the road I went down. Go ahead.
So I did about 2 years in an accounting program at City College of New York. And at the end of it, I had to choose a major. But what was happening was that I was falling in love again with all the literature classes. So I said, you know what? I want to major in English Lit. I transferred to another campus, and as I got more and more into English literature, the area that I focused on most was dramatic literature. I started getting into plays.
Nice.
The next step was, I don't want to just read these plays and talk about them. I want to live them. So I connected with a young group of of actors at City College. And once I saw what they were doing, I was addicted.
Nice.
I enrolled in professional classes at the Herbert Berghoff studio in New York City. And that was it. After that, there was no way back. My restlessness continued for quite a few years. Like, you know, you talked a bit about my working with high school dropouts, etc.
Yes.
That was a great period of my life. But when that contract came to an end, again, I got restless. So I decided I'm going to get a master's degree I applied to McGill University in Montreal, and I got accepted, and I went. But as soon as I got there, I found a theater company, auditioned for them. They accepted me, and that summer was my first summer where I was starting to get paid to act.
Nice.
And it was the most liberating feeling in the world.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And one thing led to another. And then at the end of that summer, I just continued to audition for things. And I began getting better and better work. I ended up with the National Arts Center for 5 years, and we did these groundbreaking shows where we traveled to France, to Belgium, to Scotland. We toured all of Canada.
Wow.
And then the next break was television and film. And once I got into TV and film, I realized I had to move out of Montreal because the English film and television scene wasn't big there. So I moved to Toronto. And in Toronto, I found my niche. I began getting a lot of roles on television playing gangsters.
What else? What else, right? Love it.
And that started in 1983. Here we are, 2016, and it's still going on.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful. So we can go more in depth into that part of your experience when you come back to the show. In our
Okay.
last few moments here, we have what, Mike? Maybe 5 minutes or so? All right, 8. 3 extra minutes, Louis. So
Okay.
let's touch on your message here. Change your story, change your life. Now, because you are now in addition to being a successful actor, you are also a very successful entrepreneur. And I love that you're sharing this message through your podcast of change your story, change your life through this art of storytelling. Can you touch on this a little bit? Give us a little sizzle on what we can look forward to when you come back?
Absolutely. People don't realize, or they don't want to realize, that every single word that they speak to themselves is a story that they are creating in the moment, and it's creating a reality.
Yes.
So, for example, if a person gets up and they're not feeling great about themselves, they look into the mirror and they say, you know what? I'm really not attractive. Well, they've just created a story that to them is going to be so real that they're going to start to live into that character. Let me, if you think about what actors do, right? The way an actor creates a role is by developing the belief of that other person and then living into that belief.
Yeah.
What is that? That's a story. Once you're inside that story, you actually experience the emotions and the behavior of that other being. Now, people think that only actors do that. But every time you make an I am statement, I am this kind of person. Or here's another one. You know what? That's not me. I'm really not like that. I got news for you. It's only a story. You think that it's something that you were born with, but it's only something you were programmed with.
Yes.
And if you begin to change the language that you use for yourself, you can step into any reality you want. Here's the challenge.
Love that.
Here's the challenge. The moment you begin to speak the language of a being that you really, really are dying to be, the old story is going to get very loud. And it's going to start saying things like, come on, get real, be realistic. Who do you think you are? You're becoming inflated. This is not you. And then you start listening to that voice and you go, you know what? Let me be reasonable. I got news for you. Reasonable is the worst story you can buy into.
Ooh, talk to us. Woohoo. I love that.
Serious. It's the unreasonable people, darling, that change the world, not the reasonable people. You see, it's true.
So true.
It's true.
So
And
true.
so, if there's something that you really desire, but you think stuff like, I wasn't born with that gift, I don't have that talent, etc., I'm telling you, it is a story.
Yes.
Challenge it. Now, when you challenge it, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and fear is going to come up, and resistance is going to come up. Your ability to stay in the game and not worry about how you're going to live into this other being is going to be the determining factor into whether or not you're going to be able to live into that new story. But you can transform yourself from caterpillar to butterfly if you just keep moving toward that image of the butterfly.
I love it, Louis. That it's the unreasonable people who change the world. I love that. And that is going to be the notable quotable to feature and promote you when you come back to CLB Live. Folks, we just created the trailer video for Louis's comeback to CLB Live. This was you see how powerful this gentleman is? Such a wealth of wisdom. Louis, I thank you for your transparency and your persistency this morning and your patience. You know how technology is because you also host a podcast and sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I do appreciate that we had just a moment of time to capture some of your wisdom because I'm serious. This is the trailer video for when you come back. So will you come back and join us?
I would love to. And I want to say something about you because,
Sure.
you know, here it is. It's your show. And you had a certain image of how it was going to go. And suddenly, for the first half hour, it wasn't going that way. But you stayed so cool. And you know, this, again, is about a story. I took a course called Enlightened Wizard Training. And the first declaration in that course is, I am the eye of the storm. I stay calm and centered regardless of anything.
Amen.
And you just did it.
Thank you. I learned to breathe and reboot. That's all we can do. And I appreciate the acknowledgement coming from you. That means everything. I admire you. I wanted to give a shout out to our mutual divine connection, Teresa La Carraza. She's watching us. And she shares here, Louis, that you inspire her every day with your wise words. Thank you for being her friend. And thank you, T, for your words of love for me, too. And she says, what a dynamic duo the two of you are. Got to love T. She's amazing, right? So
she's absolutely amazing. I mean, hey, T, if you're listening and watching, you are a force.
That's right. That's right. So, Louis, we're going to close out here. Thank you so very much for your time this morning. It's an honor to be connected with you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Folks, stay tuned. I will announce the date for when Louis will be returning to CLB Live. Hopefully it's September the 10th, so keep your eye on that date. And in the meantime, have a blessed weekend and make sure you create the story that you want to see in your life. Wonderful weekend and blessings.